Welcome, dear viewers, to A1 Storyteller, where every story is a journey, every character comes to life, and every twist leaves you breathless. I'm your host, and today we dive into a tale that will shock, inspire, and remind us all of the power of justice and the consequences of prejudice. Buckle up, because this is not just a story, it's an experience. Let's begin. The city of Crestwood was a place of contrasts. Skyscrapers towered over crumbling neighborhoods, and the hum of progress often drowned out the cries of those left behind. It was a city that prided itself on its diversity, but beneath the surface, racial tensions simmered, waiting for a spark to ignite them. That spark came on a cool autumn evening, when the actions of one man would change the course of countless lives. Officer Brad Grayson was a veteran of the Crestwood Police Department. He had joined the force with dreams of making a difference, but over the years those dreams had been eroded by cynicism and prejudice. Brad had grown up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and his views on race had been shaped by the biases of those around him. To him, the world was divided into us and them, and he saw his badge as a weapon to enforce that division. Dr. Evelyn Carter, on the other hand, was a force of nature. Born and raised in Crestwood, she had seen firsthand the injustices that plagued her community. Her father, a civil rights activist, had instilled in her a passion for justice and a belief in the power of change. Evelyn had worked tirelessly to rise through the ranks, earning a law degree from Harvard and becoming a leading voice in police reform. Her appointment as the new chief of police was a historic moment, not just for her, but for the entire city. Evelyn's first day on the job was meant to be a quiet one. She had planned to spend it meeting with her team and reviewing case files, but something inside her told her to hit the streets instead. She wanted to see the city as it really was, not through the sanitized lens of reports and statistics. Dressed in casual clothes, she set out on foot, her sharp eyes taking in every detail. It didn't take long for her to stumble upon a scene that made her blood boil. Outside a convenience store, two officers were questioning a young black man. His hands were raised, his face a mask of fear, while the officers loomed over him, their voices harsh and accusatory. Evelyn recognized one of the officers immediately, Brad Grayson. She had read his file, and it wasn't pretty. Multiple complaints of excessive force, racial profiling, and unprofessional and now here he was, living down to his reputation. Evelyn approached the scene, her heart pounding but her expression calm. "Is everything okay here?" she asked, her voice steady but firm. Brad turned to her, his eyes narrowing. He didn't like being questioned, especially not by a black woman. "This is police business, ma'am," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "Step back." Evelyn didn't flinch. "I'm just making sure everyone's rights are being respected." Brad's face reddened. He wasn't used to being challenged, and certainly not by someone he deemed beneath him. In a flash, he drew his gun, pointing it directly at Evelyn. "I said step back," he barked, his finger trembling on the trigger. The crowd that had gathered gasped, their phones already recording the scene. Evelyn stood her ground, her eyes locked on Brad's. She could see the fear in his eyes, fear of losing control, fear of the unknown. But she also saw something else, the deep-rooted prejudice that had blinded him to the truth. "Do you know who I am?" she asked, her voice calm but commanding. Brad sneered. "I don't care who you are, you're interfering with police work, and that's a crime." Evelyn reached into her pocket, pulling out her badge. The gold gleamed in the fading light, and for a moment, the world seemed to stand still. "I'm Chief Evelyn Carter," she said, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "And you, Officer Grayson, are under investigation." The crowd erupted in cheers and applause, but Brad's world was crumbling. His gun fell to his side, his face pale as the reality of what he had done sank in. He had just pointed a gun at his new boss, a woman who now held his fate in her hands. The days that followed were a whirlwind of investigations, press conferences, and public outcry. Evelyn's leadership was put to the test as she worked to rebuild trust between the police and the community. She held town hall meetings, listened to the concerns of citizens, and implemented new policies aimed at reducing racial bias and improving accountability. Brad, meanwhile, faced the consequences of his actions. He was suspended without pay, and an internal investigation was launched into his conduct. The video of the incident went viral, sparking nationwide outrage and reigniting the debate over police reform. For Brad, it was a wake-up call, one that came too late. But this story isn't just about one man's downfall or one woman's rise to power. It's about a city at a crossroads, a community fighting for justice, and the power of one moment to change everything. Cue uplifting music, slow zoom out on the A1 Storyteller logo. And there you have it, folks, a story that reminds us that justice is not just a word, but an action. It's a call to stand up, speak out, and never back down. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to A1 Storyteller for more gripping tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Until next time, remember, every story matters. And so do you. Stay curious, stay kind, and keep watching. This is A1 Storyteller signing off.